Greetings, virtual wanderers. Aeon's here. Remember when every RPG during the PS3 and Xbox 360 era claimed to have a massive open world, then hit you with invisible walls and copy-paste forests? Yep, good times. Welcome to the best open world RPG from the Xbox 360 and PS3 era tier list, where we judge the legends, the mid-tier memories, and the what even was that experiments that tried to redefine open worlds before it was cool. Just to set some ground rules here, the games we're ranking originally came out between 2007 and 2014 on the era of PS3 and Xbox 360, but we played the newest version available, whether that's a remaster, special edition, or an edition that finally fixed that one bug that made you rage quit. If a series has multiple entries, we've only chosen the one that we think is the best, so there won't be anything like 2 Fallouts on the list. And we're strictly talking full open worlds here, so no semi-open world stuff sneaking in. For now, we're focusing on first-person and third-person RPGs only, so leave your strategy games and isometric experiments at the door. We might also skip over some Gen 7 console titles like Divinity 2, the 2 World Series, or other more obscure JRPGs. Our list focuses on games that are pretty well known, though yes, we might still miss a few gems hiding in dusty corners. So let us know in the comments if you think we missed any games that you think should be on this list. Also, don't expect us to dive into the story unless it's so memorable that it actually impacts uniqueness, graphics, technical, or performance issues. Otherwise, we're all about tearing the 10 Gen 7 RPG games on this list based on our 6 key review aspects. Dragons, destiny systems, dialogue wheels, you name it. These games tried to make you rethink every life decision. Some aged like fine wine, others more like milk left in the sun. So grab your potions, dust off your nostalgia goggles, maybe check your library or the next sale, because after this tier list, you might just find your next classic open world RPG from the era of Xbox 360 and PS3 to dive into. First up, 2012's Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma stands out with its side activities, from time-sensitive quests to treasure hunting. Its late-game dungeons also offer endless replayability. If you're into dragon hunting or practically hunting any boss monsters like me, then you'll probably spend a lot of your time here. Not to mention the customizable unique pawn system that lets you slave away some NPCs while helping you take down boss monsters with their own class variety. Its freedom is decent, but limited, with steep slopes and invisible walls cutting into exploration. When it comes to liveliness, Grand Soren feels alive with merchants and NPC chatter, but much of the wilderness outside the settlements feels sparse and hostile. It has some weak spots in world design and liveliness, but the gameplay loop and pawn system elevated, so Dragon's Dogma earns its place in the A tier. Spicing up the second with unique die-hard post-apocalyptic vibes from 2008, Fallout 3 joins the list. Now you might argue that New Vegas should be here instead, but we wanted to stick with the main entries of the series. And Fallout 3 is the one that made the series go boom, like, well, Megaton. Fallout 3 packs a ton of side activities, enough to make you want to drown in them. Looting and exploration feel endlessly rewarding. It's basically a hoarder's paradise where your inventory limit becomes your greatest enemy. Customization is deep too, with detailed character creation, a huge arsenal of weapons and armor, and a few cozy home upgrades to make the apocalypse feel oddly comfortable. Where it stumbles is in its freedom and liveliness. The world is massive and full of vaults to explore, but getting around on foot can feel slow, especially when you're lugging 300 pounds of essential junk. Settlements feel lively with believable NPCs, but in the wastelands, you'll find more tumbleweeds than civilization. Not to mention the engagement that is side content heavy and only enough to keep you playing until halfway into the main story. From radiation meters and makeshift weapons to choices that let you save or DIY nuke a town, it's a radioactive classic that earns its spot in the B tier. Onto quirky style RPGs, we have Fable 3. Fable 3 joined the open world RPG club back in 2010. Although Fable 2 might be the more iconic choice, Fable 3 remains as the newer and more widely available entry. In other words, you don't have to own an Xbox 360 to play it. Now when it comes to the game, it leans heavily into its side activities, offering quirky quests.
We have no right to take away their fundamental liberties based on our own prejudices.
Property management, mini-game jobs, collectibles, and even literally marrying half of the kingdom. Customization holds up well, where you can even roleplay having a customizable commoner household as a king, and where the game really shines is engagement and uniqueness. The road to rule mechanic ties progression to story, while your choices as king reshape Albion and its people. It's one of the few RPGs where lifestyle systems, like marriage and property, are as central as combat. The cracks show when it comes to freedom. Albion is divided into separate hubs with loading screens and invisible walls, making exploration feel restricted rather than seamless. The world also struggles with liveliness. Towns bustle with NPCs reacting to your morality and status, but the wilderness feels barren, with a little more than just wolves and bandits. Fable 3 is flawed, but still charming. And hey, any game that lets you romance everyone while still collecting taxes from them deserves respect, so we'll place it in the B tier. Now we have our first dilemma, Fable 3 versus Fallout 3. Both are third entries of their respective series, and both actually racked up 9 points based on the 6 review aspects. So it comes down to the quality of the game. It's a really tough choice, especially when both games are equally popular, but Fallout 3 does feel like the better choice, especially when its Vault Boy is pretty iconic during that era. Next, if you're into RPGs with a big I am the chosen one kind of premise, there's Kingdoms of Amalur. Originally out back in 2012, Amalur is one of those games that thrives on content. Its side activities are overflowing, from faction questlines to endless side missions and deep crafting systems that keep you busy for hours. The customization is equally impressive, with flexible combat trees and a system that lets you experiment with builds in a way few RPGs of its era allowed. The drawbacks come in its world design. The map is large and colorful, but it feels segmented, especially when you bump into invisible walls and loading screens constantly reminding you of its limits. Settlements feel alive, but like most of the games here, the wilderness is mostly barren. And while its progression systems are fun to tinker with, they don't connect meaningfully to the main story. In the end, Amalur shines as a customizable RPG game, but misses the mark on liveliness and integration. That puts it solidly in the B tier. So how does Kingdoms of Amalur compare to the other games in the B tier bracket? Well, if we simply break it down by total review aspect points, Amalur is actually lower than both Fable 3 and Fallout 3. Both of those games score 9 points, while Amalur sits just behind at 8 points. So it stands at the lower bracket of the B tier. What if you want to play as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? Well, 2012's Darksiders 2 puts you in the role of Death himself, blending hack and slash combat, Zelda-style puzzles, and Diablo-inspired loot. The strongest element here is customization, where it lets you make Death feel like it's unique to you. Everything else struggles though. Side activities like fetch quests, collectibles, and the Crucible Arena pad out the game but feel shallow. The freedom of exploration is limited to 4 hub-based realms, connected by portals, with corridor-like design and noticeable invisible walls. The world looks great, but as we play as Death, somehow the most lifeless part is still the world itself. As for engagement and uniqueness, the gameplay loop quickly becomes repetitive and the genre mix feels more stitched together than seamless. In the end, strong customization can't save weak exploration, lifeless design, and shallow engagement. That lands Darksiders 2 firmly in the D tier. Joining as the first anime-style RPG, Nier Replicant. This 2010 game shines with a few polished side activities, with the most surprising being living the slow life of a fisherman or a farmer. The visuals and music carry a lot of weight, with gorgeous landscapes and haunting soundtracks. But freedom takes a backseat here. The world is split into more than 9 regions with narrow paths and invisible walls, making exploration feel more like a guided tour, especially when you're riding a turbocharged boar around. Customization and engagement are somewhat decent though. You can bind components for stat bonuses, mix weapons and magic, and upgrade gear, but it all feels shallow, like you're dressing up your combat moves instead of transforming them. The story is where the magic lies, tugging at your heartstrings with a brother and sister bond that slaps harder than a late game boss fight.
While you were gone.
Whoa, is that a cookie?
Here. We can split it.
No.
Outside of that, the gameplay gets repetitive fast. Still, Nier's implementation makes it unique overall. Despite its limits, Nier's emotional sibling journey earns it a thoughtful spot in the C tier. Going from a gloomy anime RPG to Xenoblade Chronicles, where all your party members yell at max volume, this game is bursting with side activities, though most are more quantity than quality. The real standouts are the affinity chart and heart-to-heart events, giving depth to NPC relationships. Party customization is solid, letting you mix and match members, weapons, and outfits like a JRPG fashion show with stats attached. However, freedom takes a hit. The world is sliced into over 10 regions, some massive and open, others narrow and corridor-like, with travel mostly on foot, so bring good shoes, stat-wise at least. The atmosphere though is stellar, with breathtaking landscapes and a soundtrack that can make even grinding feel dramatic. Engagement stays high thanks to constant variety, keeping things fresh. Add in its MMO-style combat and massive affinity web connecting hundreds of NPCs, and you've got a uniquely living world that stands out even among modern RPGs. It's not perfect, but its heart and scope easily secure the game a well-earned spot in the B tier. Well, we sure have a lot of B tiers on the list, and Xenoblade joins this bracket with 9 points. But where does it sit between the others? Fallout 3 still stands above the rest here, so it comes down to Xenoblade and Fable 3. And it doesn't come easy between the two either. Both have unique social mechanics while lacking in freedom and liveliness. We personally prefer Fable 3 out of the two, but we'll keep this open for you guys to close the deal in the comments. Which one's better between the two? Now if you're a fan of the Gothic series, you'll probably know this one. Ryzen, released in 2009, drops you onto a volcanic island with full freedom to explore from the start. No loading screens holding you back. Out of the Ryzen series itself though, this first Ryzen is the only entry with generally positive reviews. Freedom is one of its strongest features, letting you carve out your path and align with different factions that shape your skills and combat style. But the cracks start to show fast. Quests quickly dry up into repetitive errands, NPCs feel static, and the wilderness is empty beyond monsters to fight. What does surprise me though is their way of leveling up skills, where you get people to train you from the click of a button. However, combat is clunky and the game leans too heavily on Gothic's formula. That lack of originality hurts its uniqueness and overall engagement, which fades in the later hours. Ryzen has a solid base in being a janky RPG, which you probably have guessed, places it in the lower D tier. Now both Ryzen and Darksiders 2 end up being in the D tier, but when you break down the review aspect scores, Ryzen comes out ahead. Ryzen totals 5 points, while Darksiders 2 only manages 4 points. So between the two, Ryzen stands as the stronger D tier game. Almost reaching the end of the list, we have a game from 2011, Skyrim. It's a game we've all heard of before. A game dropping you into a vast, Nordic-inspired world. You can pretty much do anything in the game, even taking the homeless out of being the Dragonborn. In simpler terms, you can build a house.
What in oblivion is that?
Sentries, what do you see?
Who am I kidding? You probably already know everything about the game. Essentially, you can be whoever, do whatever, and go wherever, all while being an OP Nordic who's half naked. But that same freedom can also make you forget your destiny entirely. You'll start the main quest and 10 hours later, you're collecting butterflies or shouting goats of mountains. Also, it can feel a little empty outside of towns. Altogether, with Lydia, if you know who that is, it earns a solid spot in the A tier. So now we gotta compare Skyrim with Dragon's Dogma, and they both score 10 points. But Skyrim edges it out slightly. Its world is massive, full of freedom, and iconic for a reason, while Dragon's Dogma focuses more on combat and strategy. Both are excellent, but Skyrim feels like the more legendary experience. Finally, just like Skyrim, this game also has dragons. I mean, it's in the title. Dragon Age Inquisition. While it was intended for Gen 8 consoles, it technically still counts, being available on its Gen 7 counterparts and released in 2014. It's stuffed with side activities that make you feel like both a hero and an overworked manager. Basically, you'll never run out of things to do. It's clear the developers didn't want players finishing in this century. Customization is a strong suit too, letting you become the leader of the Inquisitors while looking like you just came straight out of Sparta. Where the game falters is in its freedom and flow. The world is chopped into 11 zones, each gorgeous but disconnected, making exploration feel like fast travel tourism. Thedas looks stunning, with regions ranging from frosty peaks to glowing deserts, but even as the newest game in this video, the areas outside of town still feel empty. Engagement starts strong, powered by the main quest and ever-present grind for power, but repetitive side content wears it down over time. In the end, this unique RPG earns a solid B tier spot. Half epic fantasy, half manager simulator, all in the Dragon Age charm. The game scores 8 points, which puts it in direct comparison with Kingdoms of Amalur. It's a choice between being an overworked hero manager or a reincarnated chosen one fulfilling destiny. Both are fun to play, but Dragon Age has more depth, personality, and slightly fewer fetch quests. Slightly. And that wraps up our long journey across 10 fully open Gen 7 console RPG worlds. No S tiers this time, but at the top of the A tier we have Skyrim, which isn't surprising for all the Fuzro Da enthusiasts out there. But Dragon's Dogma is somewhat of a surprising underdog, coming right behind the golden game of RPGs. What's more surprising is how many B tiers made the list, showing that even during Skyrim's golden era, most open world RPGs were already heading in the right direction, especially Fallout 3, which I would definitely recommend playing. If there's anything we've learned in this video, it's that dragons make just about any RPG better, by default. That was a joke, of course. Either way, even with all the decent games in the tier list, we still have a few exceptions, one standing in the middle, and 2 D tiers that you probably should just skip. That's it, all 10 open worlds tiered where they belong, at least by our standards. Also, if you think a game should climb higher or tumble lower, drop your thoughts in the comments. Or if you want to make your own version of this tier list, you can head on over to our website at GameTyr.com. And if you enjoy us ranking games like this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more tier lists in the future. In all honesty, talking about this tier list makes me want to play Dragon's Dogma all over again, or just continue where I left off in its New Game Plus. So I'll see you in 40 or so hours, and until then, happy exploring.